let's continue this conversation and examine the political implications of the diplomatic ties between South Africa and Israel, which are now under immense strain, with both countries now expelling each other's envoys. I'm joined now by Dr. Oscar van Heerden, a senior research fellow at the Center for Africa-China Studies and the Center for African Diplomacy and Leadership at the University of Johannesburg. Dr. Oscar, thank you very much for your time. We're just speaking now to Professor Salim Vali, and he made reference to King Dalindyebo and his actions. I mean, we recently saw him asking independently for friendship from the Israeli government. Let's talk about whether this signifies a breakdown of sorts of a unified front from the South African foreign policy perspective.
Good day, Mpumelelo. No, you know, the truth of the matter is that there is some measure of autonomy with regards to provincial government and tribal authorities and so on. Of course, there are protocols, and this is what the Department of International Relations and Cooperation is wanting to emphasize. No one is saying that you can't have relations with this one or that one or this government or that government, but there are protocols, DIRCO, and the presidency needs to be informed if you are going to have agreements with foreign governments, if you are going to make certain overtures towards those governments and so forth, even if it means dealing with issues of social matters like water, sanitation, and so forth. There is a courtesy that says that you need to inform the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, because we need to keep tabs on these things. You can't have foreign governments and foreign countries involved in all manner of things throughout the country, and the central government is not aware of it. And I think this is the real issue here. There are certain practices, protocols, and norms that needs to be followed in order to facilitate these things. And if those things are not followed, then there's a problem.
Dr. van Heerden, I mean, South Africa is the first nation to take such a hardline diplomatic stance this year. Are we acting as a moral vanguard, and how will it affect us?
Look, I mean, you would recall, Mpumelelo, the viewers might not be aware of this, but the ANC as a political party has for a number of years made requests through their elective conferences, which they hold every 5 years, that we need to have a particular relationship with Israel, that we need to scale down our embassy in Tel Aviv, that we need to have a particular relationship with the embassy in South Africa, because of the fact that they are occupying the territories of Palestine and that they are occupying force. None of those have been implemented to a large extent by the presidency or DIRCO, precisely because they are trying to manage these very sensitive relationships and diplomatic ties with a state like Israel. But clearly, they have now gotten to a point where the camel's back has been broken. The disrespect that has been shown by the deputy ambassador and the charge d'affaires on the part of the Israeli embassy here in South Africa made the South African government to take this harsh step.
Quite interestingly is that none of the other African countries have said that they're standing with South Africa in solidarity, or any of the EU nations. What do we make of that? Is South Africa then going to be somewhat of a lone wolf?
Well, on this particular diplomatic issue, remember, it's not really an international issue. It doesn't require foreign governments to say whether they support it or not. This is something that happened domestically here in South Africa. It's a matter between the Israeli embassy and staff and the South African government. You know, and the Department of International Relations and Cooperation is saying that it is just not in keeping with the Vienna Convention in terms of diplomatic relations for an embassy staff member to insult the President of the Republic of South Africa, to constantly indicate belligerent language towards the leader of the country and the government, and to bring Israeli high officials to South Africa without informing DIRCO. If anything happens to those officials, if God forbid, and the government is not aware of it, how will we account for these things? There are certain rules and regulations that must be followed, and it seems from what we are told the Israeli embassy has not been following these.
Well, while it is a domestic issue, as you say, Dr. van Heerden, the ramifications for us is that, Israel is an ally of the U.S. Can our economy survive a 25% tariff threat from the Trump administration if it comes to it?
Yeah, Mpumelelo, I think many people are raising the question in that fashion. What we should rather do is flip that on its head and say, because we don't want tariffs of 25% or 30% against South Africa, and perhaps even higher, are we supposed to sell our sovereignty down the line? Are we supposed to give up our sovereignty and our independence? Should America and Israel choose our friends for us? Should they dictate which must be national domestic laws that we implement to address redress the ills and the wrongs of apartheid South Africa? Should they decide what we should or should not do in terms of who our friends and trading partners should be? If this is what they want us to give up in order to not have a 25% tariff slapped on us, then I think we need to ask very serious questions about our sovereignty and our independence.
These are very tough questions to ask. Certainly, Israel has now expelled our senior diplomat. This is a tit-for-tat move. Is there any kind of diplomatic off-ramp left, or have we kind of reached the end of the road where chances of salvaging this relationship are concerned?
You know, Mpumelelo, the truth is that we don't have an ambassador in Israel. We haven't had an ambassador in Israel for a number of years. And so this, in the directive from the Israeli government, demonstrates the hypocrisy. All those that claim, including Zionists here in South Africa, that wants us to believe that Palestinians are free in the West Bank and Gaza, can make their own decisions. This decision is an indication of the fact that Israel is indeed an occupying force in the Palestinian territories, because Ambassador Shaun Beineveld is not an ambassador to Israel. He is an ambassador and representative to Palestine. He is headquartered in Ramallah. This is an independent territory, and as per international law. And for Netanyahu, the war criminal, to say that Beineveld is now a persona non grata and must vacate within 72 hours is the clearest indication that they decide what goes in and out of Gaza and the West Bank. They decide who can and cannot operate there. They are the ones who decide who should or should not be in the West Bank and Gaza. Clear indication that they are an occupying force, and because they have military presence in and around the West Bank, they are going to force Beineveld to leave within 72 hours.
Dr. van Heerden, the reality is that 2026 is an election year as well. And the ANC has long said that the Palestinian cause is part of its DNA. Do you think that this recent move of the expulsion of Israel's envoy here in South Africa may also just help the ANC retain a large part of that constituency?
No, this is a fallacy. We've seen it last year, not last year, sorry, 2024. The South African government is not doing this to score political points or for votes. They're doing this because out of principle and because it is the right thing to do. A genocide is happening in Gaza. Children, women, innocent women and men are being murdered in mass daily. Even now, with the so-called ceasefire, they continue to exterminate the Palestinians. It was the right thing to do for South Africa to take Israel to the International Court of Justice so that they can be held accountable for these atrocities. It has got nothing to do with the vote. And by the way, even if it did have anything to do with it, people in the Western Cape, in particular the Muslims, voted not for the ANC. So this is not a political ploy that the ANC is employing here. This is disrespect from a representative of the Israeli government at the embassy in South Africa, continues to disrespect the president, continues to disrespect the norms and values and protocols of the Vienna Convention. And this is why he has been expelled and have to leave within 72 hours. It has nothing to do with the local government elections coming later in the year.
Dr. Oscar van Heerden, thank you very much for your time. He is from the University of Johannesburg.